Welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. In this week's video, we're doing a best of mega test comparison with 11 market leading ceramic shampoos. There can be only one. A warm welcome back to the channel. In front of us we have 11 market leading ceramic shampoos. What are ceramic shampoos? These are the modern day equivalents to a wash and wax. You can put these in a bucket and wash your car with them and they will leave a modern bonding SI material on your paintwork, which should really be more hydrophobic and a little bit more durable than the old school equivalent, which was a wash and wax. A handful of these products are also developed to be used in snow foam lance applications, but all 11 of them can be used in a bucket wash. So that gives us the ability to compare them. So let's go dive right in and introduce these products and do our first test, which is cost per wash. So the most expensive product in this test is our Carpro Hydro 2 foam. Now, the problem with this product is for a bucket hand wash application, you have to use this at a 1:9 ratio according to the instructions. That means if you're using 15 litres of water in a bucket, you need to use approximately 3 bottles of this 500ml bottle. That will give you a cost per wash in excess of £45. This individual bottle costs £15.54. That means that you effectively need 3 bottles to do 1 bucket wash in a 15 litre bucket. Something is wrong with that ratio. So that's very off market. I think it's a mistake. I have to go with the information that's on the label. Next up, the highest cost per wash. In 10th place, Turtlewax Hybrid Solutions Ceramic Wash and Wax. Now this product, this bottle, which contains 1.4 litres roughly, is £15, which sounds phenomenally cheap. But when you go through the ratio and work out how much you have to use, it's 1:67 or roughly 225ml to a 15 litre bucket, yielding a very high cost per wash. So it looks like a cheap product, but you're using near on half this bottle, just a little bit under, per bucket. So it's a low concentration. That's why we do this test. Next up, in 9th place, is the Meguiars Ceramic Wash and Wax. Again, this product actually, you get a lot, and it's normally £32.50. You can beat that price, but that's what I paid for it. And you have to use around 100ml for a 15 litre bucket, which gives you a ratio of around 1 to 150 and a cost per wash of £2.30, which is expensive. Some other things that are unique about this product is that the actual ceramic or SI material is in a different container, which creates a fun factor and gives you a bit of control over how much SI material or ceramic material you put in and how much hydrophobicity you get. I quite like that feature, but this is an expensive product. Let's move on. The next most expensive, in 8th place, is the Carbon Collective Hybrid Shampoo, which is an SI shampoo. This product costs £19.95 for about 500ml, but the dilution ratio is roughly 1 to 405, which is actually very concentrated, isn't it? You don't use a lot of product. It's a marked improvement over these ones here. But it still yields an expensive cost per wash of £1.47. The market average cost per wash for a ceramic shampoo is £1.41. So we're not a million miles off market average. Market average cost for a normal car soap would be roughly around 30p from some tests I did a few years ago. So it costs you a little bit more to use these ceramic wash and protect all-in-ones than normal shampoo. Next up, just below market average, is the fantastic looking Chemical Guys Hydrosuds Ceramic Car Wash Soap. That bottle costs $19.99 or $95, sorry, for 473ml, and that yields a cost per wash. It has a concentration ratio of 1 to 455, which is phenomenal, and a cost per wash of £1.39. Come on, John, hold it together. Next up, from the UK, is the Bilt Hamber Touch On. So this is advertised as a crystalline hydrophobic treatment. This can be used in a snow foam lance, as can that one. And also you can mix some down in a spray bottle, so it has a little unique feature. But as a contact wash, this product costs $18.95 for this litre bottle. You use it at a rough average ratio of 1 to 222, which it tells you it's between 30 to 60 millilitres for 10 litres of product. So that'd be around 67 mil for 15 litres. And that'll give you a cost per wash of £1.28 if you go slap bang in the middle of that 30 to 60 and then translate it up to 15 litres. So that's a little bit cheaper than market average. Next up, Gtechniq, a UK brand, you know, famous for their ceramic coatings, W3 ceramic G-Wash. This product costs £19.50, or that's what I paid for it for this bottle, but it has a very high concentration ratio, the highest so far, so the most concentrated, at 1 to 500, giving a really good value, top 5 value of £1.17 per wash. It does also come with a little dosing lid, which I think is a really nice little touch actually, so you can be accurate with your dosing when you do it all. Next up, also UK brand, Valet Pro ceramic shampoo, 1 litre, in this kind of nice little, you know, reliable. I like these rather than these. Now this product costs £24.90, but you get a litre of it. Its usage ratio works out about 1 to 333, which yields a cost of around £1.12, which is very acceptable, very good, and below market average, and fourth in this test. Well done. Next up, Autoglym ceramic wash and protect. Now you get a litre of this, not 500 ml, as I said in my precursor video, and that litre costs roughly 24 quid. You can beat that price, but you might be able to with all of these. That gives you, it also has a concentration ratio of around about 1 to 333, I think 45 ml to 15 litres if I remember correctly, don't quote me on that. But anyway, that yields a cost per wash of around £1.08, which is the third cheapest in this test. So there, we have a podium for our cost per wash, third place, Autoglym. Next up, Armour Shield Plus Ceramic Car Wash. Now this little 502 ml, or it's got a funny amount in it, 520 ml bottle, costs £9. You use about 60 ml in a bucket. That yields a rough ratio of 1 to 250 and gives a cost per wash of around £1.04, making this really good value. So that's in second place. Congratulations. Now, the winner on value, Gyeon Bathe Plus, probably one of the first ceramic foams on the market. Now this little 400 ml bottle costs £19, which on the surface of it sounds expensive, but you use between 15 and 20 ml in a bucket, so I've done 17.5 for my calculation, and that gives you a usage ratio of 1 to 857 based on 15 litres in a bucket, which is sensible. That gives you a phenomenally cheap price per wash of 83p, and you use a tiny amount of product. That makes this the cheapest product in the test. Now, to get all these figures, we have to do a lot of calculations, a lot of conversions from fluid ounces, from US gallons, from rounding up half 473 mil and all this. It's very easy to make a mistake. So all of this data is just my opinion, and just check all the values if you're worried about it, but it should be roughly correct, as good as I can get it. So there we go, that's test number 1, cost per wash, value for money, very important. Boom. So test number 2, guys, I'm calling this user experience. It's worth 36 marks. The value is worth 40 marks. User experience is, what is this like to actually dose out in a bucket and then put onto the car? How well does it wow you? Is the sheeting action really noticeable? Is it a nice experience? Is it foamy and slick? So there's that side of the user experience. Does it tell you how long the product lasts, the durability? Does it tell you if it can be used in a bucket, a lance, or a trigger sprayer? 3 marks for each. Are the instructions followable? Can you work out the dilution ratio of each product easily? Is the packaging and branding desirable, and does it contain the correct health and safety? So we'll go through each product from reverse ranking through to top ranking. Picking up the least amount of marks in the user experience is the Chemical Guys Hydrosuds. Doesn't give you the durability, can't be used in a trigger sprayer. Instructions are good, but it's not easy to work out the dilution ratio because you've got fluid ounces and US gallon conversion to be done. It doesn't contain the red triangle requirements, I think, for UK health and safety, which is the only one that doesn't. Apologies if I've got that incorrect, but I'm looking for that red kind of rhombus box, if you like. The desirability of the product is high and the packaging is excellent. The overall user experience though, the suds are thin and there is very little hydrophobic effect. In fact, even virtually no sheeting when you use it at the diluted ratio. So I was left a little bit disappointed with the Chemical Guys. It does have a lovely blueberry scent. Next, with 15 marks, is the Gyeon. Again, there are no durability claims. Doesn't tell you if it can be used in a lance or a trigger sprayer. Can be used in a bucket. The instructions are followable, so it got the marks for that, although they could increase the font size, very small. Difficult to work out the exact dilution ratio because they tell you to use 15 to 20 ml in a bucket, so that can vary. So I can't work out the exact dilution unless I assume that a bucket has X amount of liquid in it. So that was a disadvantage. The product is very well branded, very desirable packaging, has the health and safety labels I'm looking for. The user experience though, when you use that little product, 17.5 ml for 15 litres, it just doesn't have enough poke. The suds disappear very quickly, so it's like runny water over the panel, and you don't get its full hydrophobicity. You need to increase the dose. So the user experience wasn't quite there for me. Next up with 16 points is the Turtlewax ceramic wash and wax. Doesn't tell you the durability. Can't be used in a lance or trigger sprayer, only a bucket. The instructions are good. Unfortunately, you cannot work out the ratio without measuring the capfuls, which is a disadvantage. The desirability, I think, is 2 out of 3. It's decent, but it's not quite as good as these two. I think they look slightly better for me. I know it's subjective. The health and safety stuff is all there. When you dose this out as required, it's quite a you have to use a lot of product, you do get a good noticeable sheeting action actually, perhaps better than some of the other products in this test, most products, but you use a hell of a lot of product and again, it's not very foamy. So the overall user experience was a 5 out of 10, and then all the marks for the other categories have got it up to 16, which is actually fine. There's not a lot of difference in these. Now, in the middle here, we have Autoglym ceramic wash and wax and Armour shield, both with 17 points. Let's go with the Autoglym. No durability claim, can't be used in a lance or trigger sprayer. Instructions are good. You can't easily work out its dilution ratio without having to measure accurately their capfuls. Its desirability, I've given it a 2 out of 10. I think it's nice branding, a bit like the Turtlewax, but just not top drawer. The user experience, again, a bit like the Turtlewax, you can notice the sheeting action off this. There's a little bit more foam when it goes in the bucket initially, but that foam does disappear. But you notice a bit of that hydrophobic performance with this particular product. So the overall user experience is pretty decent, and 17 marks. Armour, again, doesn't tell you the durability. This can be used in a snow foam lance as well as in the bucket wash, but not in a trigger spray. When you use it in a snow foam lance, you have to use it neat. So you'll go through the entire bottle in one wash. They haven't thought about PIRs and stuff like that, because that's way off if you use that neat. You cannot easily follow the instructions because it doesn't tell you that the instructions are actually a peel and they're hidden away, and there's no way of knowing that. So you might think there was no instructions. So I didn't give it the marks there. You can't easily work out the ratio because it tells you to use 60 ml in a bucket. So you have to infer what is a bucket. Same with the Gyeon product, so it didn't get the marks there. The product desirability in the bottle is 1 out of 3 in the lower echelons. I just think it looks a little bit cheaper to me. That's personal preference. You tell me what you think on that. Health and safety was there. The overall user experience with the Armour was better. Again, because you're using a bit more product, a ratio of around 1 to 250, you notice the hydrophobicity a little bit more. So overall, I thought the user experience was a 7, and then with all the other marks, it's picked up 17. So there we go. Now we're getting into the topper order, the upper orders. Carbon Collective, 18 marks. Now, it doesn't give you the durability. You can't use it in a lance or in a trigger sprayer. You cannot follow the instructions. Well, there's a problem with the instructions. Listen, using one of our wash mitts, begin washing the vehicle top to bottom in straight lines. Once the vehicle is clean, rinse thoroughly until the water runs clear. Repeat the process for increased gloss and durability. What have they missed? They're the only one to miss it. They've forgotten to instruct you to dry the panels off. If you just wash a car and leave it wet and rinse it, you're going to get water spots. That's just a little mistake, but that means you can't get good results following the instructions. So they missed out there. I think that even though I like their logo, I think it's really strong. I just think the branding isn't quite as good as some of the other products. So I gave that a 1 out of 3. It's hardly any marks, you know, but you might disagree with that because the logo's nice. The overall user experience was a 5 out of 10. The foam was gone in 60 seconds, like disappeared. But it smelled nice, and there was a good consistent sheeting effect when I used it. So I wasn't too disappointed. You know, if it didn't do anything, like the chemical guys, then you're a bit disappointed that you bought a shampoo and you can't see it. So it was decent. Meguiars, same marks but different results. No durability claims, can't be used in a lance or trigger sprayer. Instructions are good. You cannot easily figure out the ratio because it's in fluid ounces and US gallons, which is a bit of a nightmare. The desirability of the product, I think it's a 2. It's somewhere in the mid-order, kind of like the double bottle, but it looks a bit kind of like Mr. Muscly. I don't know. Health and safety is good. Overall user experience, I've given a 7 out of 10. You can notice the hydrophobic effect with the Meguiars when you use it. There was a problem though. It's gone gel-like. The actual product was loose. The shampoo was all loose and liquidy when I bought it. It's now turned into a lump of kind of silicone slime like that your kids play with. You can poke your finger in there and poke it out and your finger isn't wet. Something's happened to that. And someone said that they've discontinued this product in the US, not the UK, and replaced it without the two that you mix together. Maybe there's a problem with that soap going like a silicone-y kind of ball of slime. Who knows? But yeah, the overall user experience was good. The foam was pretty weak, but they all tend to be, but the hydrophobic effect was good. Now if we move on, these are really good performers here where there's a good amount of marks being got. 21 marks from the Valet Pro ceramic. Doesn't give you durability, can't be used in a lance or a trigger sprayer. The instructions are decent. You can work out the usage ratio. The desirability, again, is 1 out of 3. It's in the bottom order. There's nothing wrong with it, but you can just see these are top order for me. These are like really nice, desirable bits of branding and packaging. And this just isn't quite as good in this kind of thing for me. Health and safety is good. And the overall experience was a 6 out of 10. Nice smell, kind of cherry thing, a sheeting effect after I'd washed with it. It foamed well on application, but the foam thins out again by the time you start working it. But better than most, okay? Next, 24 marks, the Gtechniq. So the overall user experience was good with this. It does give you an estimate on durability, up to 3 months. I just want to see that. It just gives me an idea what to expect. It doesn't have to be accurate, but just roughly accurate. Because then I know in 3 months' time I could apply it again, or 2 months, or whatever. You can use it in a bucket wash. You can use it in a lance. You can't use it in a trigger sprayer. Oh, sorry. You can use it in a bucket. You can't use it in a lance or trigger sprayer. The instructions are good. The dosage information is very simple, very spot on. Just tells you how much to use for how much water. So and because they tell it to me in 10 litres, I believe. So yeah, use 20 ml per 10 litres. It's easy for me to convert up as well, isn't it? So it's 30 ml for 15 litres. It's just, when they give you a ratio to 10 litres, that's a real good starting point. So that would be a good standard that I think a lot of brands should adopt. Desirability, I think the packaging is fantastic. It's a 3 out of 3 there, so they get the 3 marks. Health and safety, spot on. Only problem with this is you don't use much product. It's one of the higher concentrates, and the sheeting effect isn't as robust and strong as some of those other products, and as noticeable, because I'm not using as much. And I think some of the products have been a bit conservative with their dosing, and I'll talk about that at the end. So yeah, that was the only problem, but overall that's a good score, and I pretty much kind of like that product. Next up, the Carpro. Now, the one that we think, you know, the usage ratio is 1 to 9. Well, the flip side, when you use it at 1 to 9, it's really good. Now, let's just have a look. It does tell you that it lasts around 3 months, which is great. You can use it in a bucket. You can use it in a lance. Doesn't say about trigger sprayer. I think they've got the ratios wrong on the user instructions for the bucket wash, but I can still follow those instructions. So the fact they're wrong doesn't really hamper me so much, but I have to penalise them 3 marks on their instructions because I think there's a problem with that. You know what I mean? In fact, I can't follow their instructions because there isn't enough product there for me to follow their instructions in what I consider to be your average bucket size. The ratios are made very clear though, so they get the 5 marks there. Desirability is top, health and safety is all there. And here's the ironic thing, when you dose that out, so I used, because I'd need 3 bottles to dose out the correct amount, 1 to 9 for 15 litres. I dosed out 250 ml to 2,250 ml, which I think is 1 to 9. Correct me if I'm wrong. The user experience was really good with that. Like when you rub it over the panel, you really feel like the slickness and see the gloss and the material. And you notice the hydrophobic effect perhaps more than any other product. But that ratio, usage ratio, is insane. So when you use it in a lance, use it in 1 to 9, it gets diluted down in the snow foam lance by another factor of 10. So that would give you, 1 to 9 would give you a PIR of around 1%. When you use it at 1 to 9 in the bucket, your PIR is about 10%. So I don't think Carpro, I suspect they've made a mistake with this. There could be a caveat that they want you to use it in a bucket. Just use like 100 ml in a bucket with 90 ml of water after you've washed your car, and use that like almost like a sealant that you're just putting on with the mitt. But it doesn't say that in the instructions. It's just said for hand wash, you know, put 1 to 9 in the bucket. So I think they've made a mistake, but who knows? But it hasn't penalised them on the user experience, just the price where they've got 0 marks. Next up, I think perhaps the most professional overall user experience for me, doesn't have the durability claim, which they've lost marks for. Can be used in a bucket, can be used in a lance, but you can decant it into a trigger sprayer as well to make yourself some spray sealant. The instructions are really always very good with Bilt Hamber. The ratios are all there. The instructions are very professional and good. Has all the health and safety stuff on there. You can work out your ratios from there. The desirability I thought was 2 out of 3. The packaging is nice and sharp, but these are just a little bit, these are even sharper. So it's a 2 out of 3. A bit like the Autoglym. It's respectable and it's nice, but could do with a bit more blinging up. Health and safety info is there. Overall user experience is a 7 out of 10. Again, you're using this at a higher dose, 1 to 2, around 1 to 222. And when you use it at that higher dose, I'm just checking that, yeah, you tend to get a little bit more noticeable performance than the product that you use at around 1 to 500, which kind of makes sense. So you get some good sheeting action going, some half decent suds, although again they disappear. So it was a 7 out of 10 on the user experience. Overall, probably the most professional instructions and all that bottle, as always with Bilt Hamber, and a good user experience. So those are my marks, and that's user experience test. Next up, guys, gloss testing. So we applied all these using clean swabs at the usage ratio recommended by the manufacturer. Then we used a fresh swab, microfiber swab in water to kind of rinse it off. And then we would use a dry microfiber swab, like a drying towel, to dry that section off like we would a car. Okay, and we had little string and tape over our test panel so the film wouldn't cross-contaminate the next strip. It worked quite well, actually. Here's our marking criteria. So 83 units of gloss or less, 0 marks, 84 2, 85 4, 86 6, 87 8, 88 10. Okay. Only worth 10 marks, but all of our performance testing will be 10 marks each, so there'll be 40 points of performance testing from the test panel. Valet Pro, 2 points for 84.5 gloss units. Gtechniq, 4 points for 85.5. These three were all in the 86s, .9, .7, .2, .1 respectively. So they all got 6 points. 8 points for the 87.3 Carbon Collective. And then these three were all in the 88s, 88.8, .7, .2, .1, picking up 10 points. Interesting. Sometimes my eyes might be able to spot the difference in gloss, but not in this instance. And I don't know really. I don't really know, but that's the data. So three reading average on each section of the panel. So there we go, guys. I'll put the scores up on the boards. The next test, guys, water repellency or beading at the usage ratio recommended by the manufacturer. Now, lots of these products are poor water repellency. Mainly these ones down here, which you use at very low concentrations or small amounts of product relative to the water. So I'm rating the Chemical Guys and the Carbon Collective as a 2 out of 10 on their hydrophobicity, based on how quickly the water sheets off the panel, the hydrophobic effect, and how pert the beads are. And I've just been doing this for a long time, but there's still inaccuracy on this. There's not much in it with these products. But these three, Gyeon Bathe Plus, Gwash Ceramic, and Ceramic Shampoo, 3 out of 10, below average hydrophobicity. The Autoglym and the Turtlewax, again, below average. There's a noticeable sheeting effect with both of them, but they just don't have massive hydrophobic performance. So if you're a hydrophobe and you love all that, none of these products are going to tick your box, you know, at user recommended ratio, manufacturer recommended ratio. The Armour and the Bilt Hamber, funny enough, both get you to use a bit more product. They're higher ratios. They're in the 200s, the 1 to 200s or 250s. And you start to see a little bit more hydrophobic performance. But again, I'd only classify it as average. And maybe even that's being kind as well. Then there's a big jump up where Carpro use a lot of product and you get a noticeable hydrophobic effect, and it's quite impressive actually, and it's good at decent 8 out of 10, but you're using the equivalent of 3 bottles, it should be. But Meguiars is absolutely the outstanding product in the hydrophobicity. It says that it adds extreme water beading, so the SiO2 element in here, which you don't use a lot of. Normally you'll be using about 15 mil of this, half an ounce roughly, to a little bit more for 15 litres. But when I used it on the test panel, for some reason, it just beaded like crazy. That was a clean prepped panel. Didn't bead so crazy when I used it on the car, which wasn't prepped. So you're reliant on the detergent perhaps to clean the panel off for the siloxane to get to the panel. But in testing, the hydrophobic performance was extreme, and a lot of you report back that this product beads like crazy. Yeah, it's the clear winner. So there's our hydrophobicity. It's as simple as saying this really, because the Carpro is so expensive with its pricing, it's almost ruled itself out, you know, in the costings. But if you wanted a beady performing product, there is only one option here, ceramic shampoo, and that's the Meguiars one. So there we go, that's repellency covered. Doug. Next up, guys, Slickness. So we use our patented tilt table test with the ceramic applicators wrapped in suede microfiber, all roughly the same weight. Tilt the table, see which one goes first, repeat the test loads of times. We've probably sat there for about an hour doing this because some of them are so close. Here's my ratings on slickness or low friction, whatever you want to call it. These 4 were probably consistently the last ones to slide down the table. Not always though, but I've grouped them together. I've given them 4 marks. None of them get 0 because the differences between these products are quite small. Next up, it's the Autoglym and Valet Pro, picking up 5 marks. Then these ones, I think you can actually feel a slight difference in slickness when you've got the little applicators under your finger and you're sliding back. That one probably felt the slickest to me. Oh no, the Carpro felt the slickest, probably after the Meguiars, but I'm going on the tilt table. So it's Meguiars 6, Bilt Hamber 7, Carbon Collective 8, Gtechniq 9, and the Carpro was definitely the slickest. the angle was hardly anything and it would go. So there was a big difference with the Carpro, but got a lot more concentration or a higher concentration of material and active ingredients. So there's your slickness ratings there, guys. And last but not least, durability, guys. So we're going to go from best to worst. Before we do, the test panel's placed outside and washed with Gtechniq GSF on a noodle wash mitt that I've left there and washed every day. And it's had about 20 passes, you know, like the equivalent of 20 washes over 2 weeks. So how that translates into real world durability, I'm not sure, but we've got some definite differences. So the Meguiars, I'll give it a 10 out of 10 because it's still buzzing away after 2 weeks, and it's the only one that's really buzzing and still showing really good hydrophobicity. So it's got the best durability. Next, probably no surprises, is the Carpro Hydro 2.0. So that's still there, still doing its thing, still flicking the water off. Now these ones, it's virtually impossible to tell the differences, and they really have sort of decayed at a very, very similar rate. But these three, I think, are slightly more durable than these ones, and it could just be down to concentration. So Autoglym, Bilt Hamber and Armour all, I give a 4 out of 10 relative to the best Meguiars. And these ones, I give a 3 out of 10. All of these, they didn't have that much going on to start with, and what they did have going on has diminished pretty consistently over all of these wash cycles. So how long would you get out of these ceramic shampoos? I really don't know. It depends. If you follow the user instructions like I have, you might get like 1 to 2 months, I think, something like that. But it'll be difficult to see the hydrophobic performance with these products. These two, you'll see it. So that's durability, guys. And over to the final results now. The final results, guys, with the least amount of marks is the Turtlewax product, picking up 41 marks. The cost of this per wash is what killed it, because the performance is kind of good enough, but you have to use way too much product, which makes this expensive, which set it back massively. The chemical, guys, decent user experience, but it's just not hydrophobic enough at the ratio that it suggests you use. A lot of products are guilty of that. Carbon Collective, because it priced itself above the market average, you can see there on the value, it only got 12 marks out of 40. You imagine if it was just a little bit cheaper, it could pick up another potentially 28 marks and launch itself onto the platform. So price has held that back. Performance has been decent. Carpro is an oddball one because I have to follow the manufacturer's directions, which I think are either off or are being written in a way to use it that doesn't align with how I'm really thinking I should use it. So I'm going to probably do another review on this where I just use it as directed in a snow foam lance, and I bet you the performance is good. Ironically, it's done all right because it's turbocharged at 1 to 9 in the bucket, so I get really good performance, but it's lost 40 marks on price, so it was off to a terrible start. Now down here, the Valet Pro has just been a consistent performer, consistently average price, or consistently better than average, but it hasn't wowed in any factor. You know, it's not the cheapest, it's not the most hydrophobic. It's very similar performance, but it's just fallen somewhere in the middle. The Meguiars is a hydrophobic beast. What's held Meguiars back is the fact it costs so much money. And also the fact it's gone all slimy in there really is just really strange. Like you see that? It's gone like jelly, which is quite a worrying thing. But if you want a hydrophobic product, Meguiars is the only option. It's brilliant in that front. If it was cheaper, it could have won this. Maybe should have won this as well. Gtechniq Gwash 67, good user experience. You don't use lots of product, very professional instructions and all that sort of stuff. Just not hydrophobic enough at the concentration ratio, or cheap enough. You know, if it could have been a bit cheaper and a bit more hydrophobic, it'd have shuffled its way up the pack. But that's a good showing. That's a good chunk of points. Autoglym, 1 more point. Good value for money. Even if I've used this a fair few times, even if you dose it up, you can't really get it to ever go bead crazy, which is fine. It perhaps deserves to be above the next one, Gyeon, because this Gyeon product got 40 marks for being the cheapest because of the concentration, but you cannot use 17.5 mil of this in a bucket and expect it to kind of perform. It can't work at 181 or 1 to 857 or whatever it is ratio. You need more product. So it picked up tons of marks. The user experience is okay. The performance is probably below average, but it's managed to hang in there and come third. So in second place, the Bilt Hamber product. Now, it was off to an average start on its value for money. It's a relatively cheap product at $18.95 for a litre. The user experience is great, the instructions are professional, all that sort of stuff. But because you use 67 ml in a 15 litre bucket roughly, its value for money is only average. So it lost most of its points there. That performance is actually relatively quite good. So if it had been a bit cheaper, it would have picked up more marks and won. But that's just the way it goes. The one with the most points is the Armour, which was the brand that perhaps you might say is less desirable. It's less, you know, it's not as blingy. You know, if you're a brand snob, you might not use Armour. But that's why we do all this number crunching. Now, if we look at the number crunching for Armour, where the hell is it? There it is. So it's off to a good start on price, 36 points out of 40. The user experience is fine. You at that ratio, it's a bit richer than some of the other products. The gloss is nice. The repellency is kind of average. The slickness is kind of average, so it lost a bit there. That durability was low, but so was it with most of these products. So it's picked up 76 points. It's won. There you go. That's how we do it. All of the products here will be available in links in the description. The results on this and everything about this test has left me feeling really disappointed with ceramic shampoos. None of them have blown me away. Usually when I do a test, they can blow me away. How could the product blow me away? It could be rich, the user experience could be nice, it could be sudsy, and as I'm rubbing these suds over, it's really cleaning back a dirty car, and then it's booming with hydrophobicity and slickness, and I just didn't get that kind of feeling. Just got a feeling that they're all a little bit low on concentration, and yeah, just probably wouldn't really opt for using these products personally. That's my thoughts. I'm going to go over now and do a video called Forensics Thoughts on which product should win, because I don't think I would rank them this way, and I'll show you why. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Adios. Doug.
Holding on to what I knew, but the moment's gone. Where was I when